Today is gonna be a really fun video because we're gonna be checking out 5 of the cutest and coziest coffee shops in New York City. And for all my fellow writers out there, we're also gonna be writing a lot. A little background. November is National Novel Writing Month, a month where fellow writers like me strive to write 50,000 words of our novels. Although the NaNoWriMo organization no longer exists, I feel like now is the perfect time for us writers to reclaim the month for ourselves. So I'm participating in NaNo this year, and I'm so excited to make progress on my novel, a science/fantasy with some romance and dystopian vibes called Project Gaia. We're gonna be heading to the first coffee shop in just a moment, but let me give you a quick preview of what you're in for today. I'm gonna try out each coffee shop, get something to drink, maybe some snacks, and then we're gonna get a bunch of writing done. And after each coffee shop, I'm gonna give you the full rundown on the ambiance, the food, the Wi-Fi, everything you would wanna know if you would wanna work there someday. And I'm also gonna give you a little bit of the behind the scenes on the progress I've made on my novel. This way, if you're ever in New York and wanna get some work done, you'll know exactly where to go to be inspired. And if you're a writer like me and are interested in seeing how the seedlings of an idea mature into a full-blown novel, well, I've got you covered. I'm gonna add timestamps in the description below in case you wanna skip around, but if you wanna follow me for the whole journey, then buckle up because I promise this is gonna be fun. Without further ado, let's head out to the first coffee shop. Outro.
조용하게 음악을 틀어 이 노래가 혹시 너에게 방해가 될까봐 나는 조심하는 중이야 될까봐 나는 조심하는 중이야.
Outro was probably one of my favorite coffee shops ever, and I highly recommend you go there if you want to get some good work done or even just to hang out. I went there on a Saturday, which is usually prime time for coffee shops, but it wasn't at all crowded, and both the food and the matcha were absolutely mouth-wateringly delicious. Working from the patio was awesome. It was so cozy and serene, and I got some serious writing done. If you're looking to work there, I should mention that the patio didn't have the best Wi-Fi, and they also didn't seem to have any outlets outside. That said, I still think Outro is an amazing place to work from, especially if you have a fully charged laptop and don't need Wi-Fi. Or can use your phone's Wi-Fi like I did. Okay, so now let's get into the novel. I'm being a little bit of a nano rebel in the sense that I'm breaking one of the cardinal rules of nano, which is to not edit as you go, but rather just write as many words as I can. And what I did is I actually started by editing the first chapter of my novel, and I ended the writing session at -2 words for the day, which I'm not gonna lie, was a little bit sad. But let me explain my logic because I have a good reason, I promise. So I am a firm believer that with writing, sometimes fast is slow and slow is fast. What I mean by that is that I could technically win Nano by writing 50,000 words as quickly as I can. And that would seem like fast progress. But if what I end up writing doesn't end up being very good, I would have to rewrite most of it, which would really slow down my progress. So even though I'm gonna write as many words as I can this month, I'm gonna take my time with it. And if that means that my progress is slower, or even that I don't win Nano, I'm gonna be okay with that. Because I hope that by taking my time now, I'm gonna be faster later on. And hopefully end up with a more solid first draft that will need just a little less revision. At least that's the goal. We'll see how it goes. With that context, the first thing I did was to ground myself back into the story because I hadn't worked on it for over a year and I didn't really remember it well at all. Rereading the first chapter was an interesting experience to say the least. And the thing that I was struck by the most was that Tristan was a lot more cold and cynical than I remembered him to be. And the thing is that maybe this is how I envisioned the character a year ago, but now that we've done the brainstorming video and that I've spent a lot more time getting to know him, I've come to realize that he's actually a lot more tender than I had originally imagined him to be, and I want to make sure that that tenderness comes through from the very beginning. Given how much things have changed, I am quite tempted to go back and rewrite that first chapter from scratch, but I think I'm gonna focus on replotting the story first, and then I'll revisit that chapter once I have a better idea of where I want that story to go. So let's head over to the next coffee shop and see how much progress we can make there.
Who's to know what happens when the world ends? At least this is an okay bar for running into you. I've waited for a lifetime for you to calm down. Oh, nothing feels the same without you now.
The Book Drama Cafe was so cool. The coffee shop was founded in 1917, which is wild, and it specializes in plays and theater-related books. I only had a matcha there, but it was so earthy and so yummy. And when you purchase something from the coffee shop, you get a password which you can use for the entire day. So you really feel like you can get a solid amount of work done here. So I feel like this is actually a great place to work from. The coffee shop wasn't too crowded, the table was spacious, there were plenty of outlets, although mine didn't work for whatever reason, but it wasn't too bad. And overall, I felt so energized, and it was so easy for me to get into a beautiful state of flow. To be honest, I was tempted to stay there the whole day because I didn't want to break the creative spell that I was under, but I also wanted to check out more coffee shops, so I did end up leaving and moving on to the next one. But the writing session was really productive, and I was able to figure out a lot of plot points from my first act. So I was super happy with my progress.
There's no one like you, my little girl. Your eyes so blue under those brown curls. Go on now, be good, be fine, live, it's your life.
Okay, now let's talk about Café Flor. This coffee shop was so artsy and unique. Very Paris Hotel meets jungle vibes. I felt a little bit like a classy Tarzan working from there, I'm not gonna lie. And even though the food wasn't all that great and they only give you internet for 90 minutes, I actually surprised myself with how productive I was while I was there. The truth was that I had a bunch of breakthroughs and even solved a major issue with my plot, which I'm super happy about. And I don't want to give away too much, but what I will say is that I'm an animal lover at heart. If you watch my other channel, Comfy Era, you know that I have 4 cats and that I love animals. I also really enjoy books where protagonists have a really close relationship with animals or other creatures. So for example, I love the banter between humans and dragons in Fourth Wing. And growing up, I really enjoyed reading the Golden Compass trilogy. And one of the parts that I liked the most was the relationship between demons and humans. So I wanted to do something similar in my novel. The trouble with that is that it's all too easy to fall into cliches, and I really want to avoid that as much as I can. This is a little embarrassing, but originally I was envisioning having a talking cat, and then I realized that that's actually super overdone in sci-fi. So yeah, we're not gonna be doing that anymore, but that's why I had this major issue of what is this creature in my book, or creatures? You know, what are we gonna do here for that? And while I was at this coffee shop, I ended up falling into an internet rabbit hole, and I discovered this mythological creature, which then inspired me to think about something else. And now I'm super happy with the creature that I came up with. And it really unlocked a lot of things for me and solved this major issue that I had with my plot, which is basically that there's this scene in the beginning of the novel where Gaia is supposed to run after Tristan. But the issue is that Tristan is a cyborg and he knows how to fly, and Gaia is a mere human, so she obviously does not. And it didn't make any sense that she would even attempt to chase him because she just wouldn't be able to catch up. But now, thanks to this creature and its magical abilities, Gaia actually has a shot at keeping up with Tristan. So her chasing him makes so much more sense. So yeah, I feel like this was a huge breakthrough, and it was definitely worth going to Café Flor to have it. And now we can fast forward to the following day, which was Sunday, and I started the day with the most pleasant walk.
Maybe I'm living in New York, taking the subway, drinks with the girls down in Brooklyn on Friday, work at a bookstore, falling for fictional man. Or maybe I'm in Scotland, all alone on Isle of Skye, writing poems on
went through the High Line, which is a beautiful elevated park that was created out of an abandoned railroad. And it's one of my favorite parks because for me, it's a physical manifestation of what's possible when enough people organize to make something really good happen. And I feel like we need more of that in the world. And during that walk, I actually had another breakthrough because I was listening to the audiobook of one of my favorite books, Blot Over Bright Haven, and that book is just so well constructed. And anyways, as I was reflecting on how magnificent that book is, I had this spark of an idea of how I want to begin the book, and I also had an idea for the last scene, which was super exciting because I have an idea of what the ending looks like, but this was the first time when it really clicked in my brain what I want that final scene to be. And the best part is that while I very much want this novel to be something that can be enjoyed as a standalone, for the first time, I actually think that there is potential for this novel to be a duology potentially, if you all like it, and if it's something that I feel inspired to do in the future. And so that was also a really exciting discovery because it wasn't something that I had previously even thought would be possible. But yeah, that walk gave me some really cool ideas and was the perfect prelude to the next coffee shop, which is called Poetica. The Poetica coffee shop was also super cozy. I don't know if you got the same vibe, but sitting there, I truly felt like I was in the living room of a famous author like Virginia Woolf or Sylvia Plath, and it was the perfect setting to write. If you're considering working there, I will say that the drinks and food were nothing to write home about. They were fine, I guess, but just nothing memorable, and they only have internet for 2 hours, which you can renew by buying more things. But yeah, just something to keep in mind. That said, I will say I was also super productive here, and I appreciated how bright the place was and the fact that it had plants and beautiful paintings, and it just felt very homey overall. I truly feel like that made a huge difference, especially on a rainy day like that day. And by the time I left the coffee shop, I knew exactly how I wanted my first act to go. So that was a huge win. And that's when I headed over to the last coffee shop, Bibliotheque. I'm probably butchering the name. I'm sorry. It's probably supposed to sound a lot fancier and more beautiful sounding than what I'm doing, but I'm Italian, okay? I'm trying my best. Pizza. Anyway, sorry. Back to Bibliotheque. I do feel like this place was overhyped, although the pain de chocolat that I had was delicious, and there were beautiful couches on the back that unfortunately I couldn't film at all because it was so crowded. So I feel like the fact that it was that crowded, even on a Sunday when it wasn't supposed to be as crowded, made it not as pleasant of an experience. That said, maybe if you go there on a day where it's not as crowded, you might have a whole different experience. So it's still worth potentially giving it a try, but I just didn't have a great time while I was there. There were just too many people around, and I felt like I was packed like a sardine, which was far from ideal. All that being said, I still managed to get some good writing done while I was there, and I ended up that weekend at 608 words. So yeah, I am extremely far behind. And if you stick around for the next vlog, we're gonna be trying to catch up. We'll see how it goes. I will say that that was my last day in New York, and I really hope that once I'm back in San Francisco, I will have a lot more dedicated time to write. So fingers crossed that I do catch up and that we're still able to get 50,000 words done. Or if we don't get 50,000 words in, that's okay. But I still hope that we make a substantial amount of progress on this novel. Fingers crossed. If you made it to the end of the video, drop the coffee emoji in the comments. And if you're also doing NaNo this month or another writing challenge, Please let me know that in the comments. I always love to hear what other writers are doing. Thank you so much for joining me in this mini adventure. I hope it was fun. I hope you got some writing done. And if you're in New York, I highly recommend checking out these coffee shops, and I'd love to know if you like them. I'll see you in the next Nano vlog, but for now, buona scrittura e a prestissimo. Ciao!